Cooler here, and for much of northern and western England, Wales, cloudier conditions to begin things, although the rain on the weather front that is making the change tending to peter out, and really it's just a band of cloud and a few spots of rain as it pushes into the Midlands, and then by the afternoon East Anglia in the southeast. As that rain arrives and as the cloud thickens, the wind changes direction, temperatures aren't going to reach the highs that we saw in the last couple of days. We're looking at closer to 25, 26 Celsius in the east and southeast. But sunshine returns by the end of the day across much of England and Wales. Blustery showers in the west and the north.
It's the final week to see how you can win big this summer. First, there's a totally tax-free £15,000 in cash to make your summer spectacular. Spend that extra cash however you like. You'll also win a brand new iPhone, Apple AirPods, and if that wasn't enough, a £500 voucher to spend at your favourite UK attraction. You have to hurry, as lines close at 5 p.m. on Friday. For another chance to win the iPhone, treats, and £15,000 cash, text prize to 63232. Text costs £2 plus one standard network rate message. You can also enter online at gbnews.com/win. Entries cost £2, or post your name and number to GB06 PO Box 8690 Derby DE1 9TT. UK only. Entrance must be 18 or over. Lines close at 5 p.m. on Friday. Please check the closing time if listening or watching on demand. Good luck.
Congratulations to the GB News winners at this year's Trick Awards.
And the winner of Interview of the Year is... Alistair Stewart reveals his heartbreaking diagnosis to Camilla Tormini.
And the winner is GB News Breakfast. And the winner is Nigel Farage.
And thank you to you, our GB News viewers and listeners, for making us the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
GB News Breakfast, every day from 6 a.m.
Giovanni is axed following growing allegations of threatening and abusive behaviour.
We won't see his little toes dancing around the dance floor again, which is a shame.
Was it the BBC saying, you know, we've had some bad publicity about this star, do we need to maybe let him go? Or was it Giovanni himself saying that, you know, he's had to, with all the bad publicity and what's the allegations against him, he's walked away? We don't exactly know. But what we do know is that Amanda Abingdon, who he was coupled with last year on the last series of Strictly, left claiming that she had nasty behaviour from him in rehearsals when they were training for their routines. And she's also been diagnosed with PTSD, which she is blaming or claiming happened because of the training that she was put under Giovanni. It's very sad because I've met Giovanni on quite a few occasions, and he comes across as a very nice gentleman, actually, and the fans absolutely love him. And even though the allegations are out there against him, everybody I speak to in terms of the fans are on his side.
I mean, from the fans' point of view, they don't see what goes on behind the scenes. All they see is an incredibly gifted dancer who we're seeing footage of now.
It might come out later, but there's all sorts of things coming out because after Amanda came out and claimed all this behaviour against him, a male celebrity last week also came out and voiced their opinion. Yeah, a lot of fans will be gutted, but as you say, we don't know the full story yet as what's gone on.
And it's incredible pressure that no one's allowed to be, a duffer right from the start now.
I mean, it's one thing learning lines if you're an actor, but it's a different kettle of fish altogether if you're learning moves that you've never done before. So you've got...
The People's Channel.
With GB News in a moment, headliners, but first let's take you through the latest news headlines. And tonight the two main party leaders have clashed over illegal immigration in a television debate with just a week to go before voters go. Sir Keir Starmer and Rishi Sunak arrived at Nottingham Trent University earlier on to take part in the question and answer session where they took questions from an invited studio audience, with one asking how each leader was planning to control illegal immigration. Here's what they said.
Yes, we do need to process.
But what will you do with them?
We've got to process the claim. You're sitting there with tens of thousands of people. But just
when
let me finish.
illegal migrants come to our country, what will you do with them?
It's
a very simple question.
Well,
I can tell people what I will do with them. I will put them on planes to Rwanda because they shouldn't be able to stay. What will you do with illegal migrants who come to our country? What will you do with them? It's a simple question.
His plan is
what will you do with them?
They need to be processed at the moment.
Processed?
Well, a new poll has predicted that the Conservatives are set to lose most of their seats in the election and will likely have fewer seats than the Liberal Democrats, which means, according to the new research, the Lib Dems are most likely to become the official opposition party. The new poll looks like this. It's from Electoral Calculus, and it's forecast that Labour will win 450 seats, the Liberal Democrats 71, and the Conservatives 60. It's likely the Reform Party will win around 18 seats, according to this research, including those of Nigel Farage, Richard Tice and Lee Anderson. The forecast Labour victory would be more significant than Tony Blair's landslide election result of 97, and it would be the largest win by any political party over the last 100 years. Meanwhile, Labour has confirmed tonight that a party member has been arrested in Islington in London. It follows a police investigation into the sexting scam concerning some Westminster MPs. The police investigation relates to at least 12 men who'd received unsolicited text messages in the so-called honey trap scandal. Labour says it has administratively suspended the member from the party and cannot comment further due to the ongoing police investigation. Now, the Shadow Health Secretary, Wes Streeting, has maintained his position that a 35% pay rise for junior doctors is a non-starter, but he says he will reopen talks with the BMA if Labour wins the general election. Meanwhile, NHS leaders are warning of major disruption as a result of the combination of the walkouts and the current heatwave. It'll be the 11th walkout by junior doctors from the British Medical Association in England. Yellow heat health alerts were in place across the country today and are due to end at 5 p.m. tomorrow. And just lastly, Phil Foden has left England's Euro 2024 camp to return home for the birth of his third child. It's hoped the Manchester City midfielder will be back in time for Sunday's last 16 clash in Germany. He started all 3 of England's Group C matches as Gareth Southgate's side advanced by finishing top of the group, and we face Slovenia on Sunday. That's the news. For the latest stories, sign up to GB News Alerts by scanning the QR code on your screen or go to gbnews.com/alerts.
Hello and welcome to Headliners. I'm Andrew Doyle, and joining me tonight are the Headliners A-Team. It's B.A. Curse and Mr. Nick T. I think that's accurate, isn't it?
Crazy fool!
See, there you go. Racist. What about you? How are you?
I always liked Murdoch. He was the wacky one, wasn't he?
He was the one who was scared of flying or something?
No, B.A. was scared of flying. He was the one who flew.
B.A. was scared of flying?
Yeah, that was his one weakness.
Murdoch was neurodivergent, we'd say now.
Like me.
Yeah.
Yeah, so he'd be quite fashionable now. OK, well, look, we're going to first have a look at Thursday's front pages before we dive in. While the Times are leading with Sunak rams home tax message in final debate. The Daily Mail, you were taking people for fools. The Financial Times has got French far-right leader vows to fight a cultural battle against Islamism, and the Mirror, Holly kidnap kit. The Eye has got revealed Russian hackers behind NHS attack are part of cyber army protected by the Kremlin, and the Daily Star, something about football and sleeping. Those were your front pages. Right, so we're going to kick off with Thursday's Daily Mail. Leo, you have the details?
So the Mail leads on the debate, the spat between Starmer and Sunak.
It wasn't a spat, it was a televised debate.
Televised debate. Yeah, but they did a bit of a spat.
It's not like they had a Barney in a car park
That's a little
after a few bevies.
It was a bit like that.
Well, Sunak doesn't drink.
It'd be a better way to settle to find out who's going to be the next leader, I think.
Yeah.
So Rishi's furious blast at Starmer. You are taking people for fools. So Sunak slams the Labour leader's nonsensical plans to tackle tackle illegal migration in TV debate and tells voters not to surrender our borders to Keir's party. I mean, this would all be really valid points and make a lot of sense if Sunak hadn't already surrendered our borders to illegal immigration. I mean, since Sunak took power, which isn't that long ago, because the Tory party tend to go through a lot of leaders. Since he took power, there have been 50,000 cross-channel migrants, and it's climbing by hundreds every day.
But the question is, did Keir Starmer, in the televised debate, which I haven't seen, I'll be honest, did he hit back at this and make precisely the same points that you are now making?
I don't think he did.
He didn't do that well. This was Sunak's best moment. I tried to listen to it while also preparing for this. I have to say, this was Sunak's best moment, probably of the whole campaign, possibly of his whole tenure.
Really? Why is that?
Because he actually showed some passion, and he made a great point to Starmer. He said, what are you going to do? Negotiate with Iran, Syria, Afghanistan? You're going to negotiate with the Taliban? And he pointed out that Starmer has no plan on immigration. He's got his Rwanda plan, which may be flawed, but he's saying, what are you really going to do? You're going to negotiate with the Taliban? And so it was a good point, and he delivered it strongly and actually got a round of applause. And mostly, you know, Rishi's just far too nice and bland, isn't he?
Well, is that the point? That now that he knows he's on the way out or thinks he's on the way out, he can just do whatever. He can roll with it. I mean, look, you are taking people for fools. That's almost trash talk. Yeah. It's almost like you're going down,
in Rishi's house, that is.
Whatever they say.
Yeah, absolutely. And, I mean, you can see, really, on this particular issue, the Tories don't want mass immigration. They don't want, illegal migration, whereas Labour obviously do, and they're committed. They're fully on board with critical race theory and all the horrific, social justice ideology. But regardless of who you get, you're probably going to get the same number of people coming over the channel because, the Tories are completely ineffectual at stopping it, and Labour want it, but it's the same number of people come here.
That was Rishi's other line. Under Labour, you're going to need a bigger boat.
That's quite funny as well.
Jaws. Yeah, it's quite funny. And the problem is, it is true because, presumably, because Starmer's going to scrap Rwanda, the Home Office are already quietly shelving it. Obviously, it's not going to happen, is it, if Rishi loses? Yeah. So that is going to be more and more boats.
No, you're right. It's probably going to be the same either way. But I'm just very interested in the way that when politicians, when they're on the way out or they leave, they become something different. They become a different beat. I mean, Liz Truss became very more sassy afterwards. I don't know if sassy is the right word.
We need more sass.
But you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like they sort of change too late. And you find out who they really are.
Yeah. And he actually missed an opportunity on Liz Truss because Starmer criticised Rishi for backing Truss. Rishi said, as you know, I was against her economic plans. He's like, well, why did you back her? And he missed an open goal to say, why did you back Corbyn then? And the moderator had to say it to Starmer and got a round of applause. And that's when I realised they're both rubbish at debate because that was an open goal.
That is an open goal, absolutely. OK. Well, let's move on to the front cover of Thursday's Times. Nick, what are they running with?
The Times has Labour Party member arrested over honey trap scandal. And this was the same story involving William Ragg a while ago. But now people are sort of shocked that a Labour member has been identified.
OK,
and so it becomes not a political football against the Tories anymore. This was this thing where there was these people claiming to be called Charlie or Abby, and they were sending flirtatious messages. Yes. And obviously normal people ignore them. But if you're a politician, you just send pictures of your genitalia. That's just how it works. I'm not saying this person did. We don't know much about this person. But that's just how it works. When I'm lonely, I just rewatch Succession. But politicians are very different.
You just bat away all the fliteratious messages that you continually get.
It's hard, but, you have to do it, Andrew. And so Labour suspended them. As we know, Starmer loves suspending people. I always get rid of them. So he suspended them, and I'm not prepared to say too much more because I don't understand the legality of it. But stay away from honey. I mean, honey is just like, it's always a trap.
Absolutely.
It's always suspicious if a woman's interested in you.
Yes.
That's
the first thing.
Yeah, that always sets my autistic alarm bells.
A man is normal.
Singing,
They've seen you on the telly. You get a lot of men. Yeah. They text you. They've seen your jackets, and they just put two and two together.
Don't trust anyone who's attracted to you, particularly if you're a politician.
Right. It's interesting that this person is being possibly being charged under the Online Safety Act, because I think when the Online Safety Act was brought through, it wasn't sold to us as a way of shutting down citizen journalism, and because there's a legitimate cause to present yourself as the wrong person. We've seen it in America a lot with James O'Keefe and Project Veritas.
Yeah, but it's not entrapment, Leo. We're sending messages just deliberately to get a politician in trouble.
Well, to get them to engage in flirtatious flirtatious messages. I mean, it could be exposing the venality of that politician.
Leo's in favour of it. It's his favourite thing to do.
It sounds like you are. Yeah.
No, I think there is a it's like Borat. It's like pretending to be something you're not to draw out certain behaviour.
It's not like Borat. Borat's a comedy character.
This is the Labour Party. They're a comedy.
I mean, it's funny, but it's not like Borat.
Okay.
It's not that funny.
All right, let's move on to the Financial Times, Leo. We don't normally cover them. What are they up to? But they normally talk about graphs and stuff.
Yeah, they normally have bad news, but they've got some good news this time. So the French far-right leader vows to fight a cultural battle against Islamism.
Is it actually a far-right leader, or is it just what they're calling a
This is what I was going to say. I mean, to me, he's centrist and sensible.
Who are they talking about? He's far left.
So this is Jordan Bardella. So he's Marine Le Pen's national rally. He's the potential.
He's young, isn't he?
He's young, 28 years old.
I mean, I think that, frankly, don't care about right and left. Too young.
But they've had Macron, so they're used to it. There's a precedent for having, as long as his...
he had a very old wife.
Yeah, if his wife is 80 years old to balance it out.
Exactly.
And met him when he was at preschool or whatever, like Macron's wife. But yeah, this is... I mean, it's interesting that he's being so sort of vociferous when he's going into the election. It shows the confidence that the National Rally have, and it shows the complete shift that we've seen across Europe. And note that he's saying Islamism. A lot of people, The Guardian, are going to be saying, oh, this is racist. This isn't even against Islam.
No,
this is against
racist.
Islamism. This is
Islamism, that's fine.
This is against the sort of, aggressive, militaristic, politicised Islam.
Yeah, I think everyone understands the distinction. I don't think that could be said to be racist.
Well, do they? I mean, lots of people pretend not to for political points, but...
Well, look, this is interesting, though, isn't it, Nick? I mean, the point is this has become the major issue in France now, or at least one of the major issues. I mean, it is looking like the Le Pen legacy might not be the stigma that it once was.
Right, no, they're seen as more moderate. Well, many people see them, not clearly the Financial Times, but many see them as sort of centre right now. Yeah, and she's got this sort of new guy, Bardella, who's only 28, as you say. And he's saying the veil's not desirable in French society. So in France, there's more of a tradition as well of secularism, right? They try to secularize everything. They don't go for the multi-faith thing so much. They're more like just put all your religions away.
Laissez-faire, they call it. It's their thing. It's their
so
thing.
There you go. So in that sense, it's less controversial. Obviously, will still be seen as controversial. I notice he's also saying take back control of immigration. So he's borrowed a useful slogan there that's worked in the past.
Yeah.
Can you clear something up for me? What is Macron playing at? With this election, because it does seem to be shooting himself in the foot.
It's a gamble, and it's a really misjudged one, to be honest. I mean, he kind of had to, because they performed so badly in the European elections.
Yeah.
So he had to possibly rush to an election to really shock the public, because people can vote in any direction in local or European elections, but in national elections people tend to vote more sensibly and conservatively. So he must have thought, they've delivered this protest vote. But
so you don't think it's the idea? I mean, I've heard it theorised that he knows that Le Pen will win, and then once she's been or her party is in charge for a while, and everything falls apart, everyone will say, oh, wasn't Macron great? Let's get that guy back in. Is that not it?
Well, it's similar to the most fun theory I've heard is just that he's done. He thinks France is ungovernable, and he just wants to go and take a sort of UN job or whatever, NATO,
that
whatever
makes
it is.
more sense.
Like Sunak.
Yeah, pretty much, yeah. He's going to probably work with Sunak, probably start an IT startup or something.
That actually makes sense. Good luck, Manuel. OK, let's move on to the Star. Nick, this football thing.
Yeah, it's a snoozing fan. I had a lovely dream. England were winning, and then I woke up. So it's a satirical comment, Andrew, on the very boring game against Slovenia. It was 0-0. It was.
Was it boring? Did you watch it?
I did watch it. It was painfully boring. And I wanted to play football instead, but the people wouldn't play, so I'll just watch this boring game.
Did you fall asleep?
So I didn't fall asleep, but it was very bad. And, we still won the group, so it sort of doesn't matter. But people are saying Southgate's very boring, and there's all these comments about him. He gets planning permission to build a sandcastle. He wears a helmet on his Peloton. There's all these things. And I do understand
But it's not his fault that the aim is boring. I mean, he's the manager, right?
Yeah, but the idea is the team he picks, the system he plays.
Can he put them on unicycles or something?
He could
make it more interesting.
He could have a lot more aggressive exciting style of play. But he's lucked out because through the quirks of the system, we've ended up getting Slovakia in the next round, which is one of the easiest draws we could have got. I'm not saying we'll necessarily win, but we could have got Germany, we could have got Holland.
Well, maybe that was the strategy.
It could have been the strategy, but it would be almost impossible to work out because it depends on mathematical proof. He'd have to be Rain Man to have worked it out and know the future.
Right, what do you... I mean, I know you're a big football fan, Leo. Are you?
No.
Oh, you're not?
Football's really boring.
I knew it was one or the other.
But I think they need to bring back football hooliganism. That was always interesting and fun to watch.
You wouldn't fall asleep then, would you?
You wouldn't fall asleep then. And also, that means you're keeping a sort of a patriotic army going. Like in Russia, the state trains the hooligans. That's how they understand.
You want it to be more like ice hockey, isn't it? Where every now and then they just break and beat each other up.
Or every now and then they break and start playing ice hockey.
Yeah, which of course is the right way to look at it. OK, that's all we've got time for in this section. Those are the front pages, brilliantly critiqued. And the class act continues into the next section with Labour migrants, Labour net zero, and Rishi who? Anyway, see you in 2 minutes.
Sunday with Michael Portillo from 11, only on GB News.
We've been talking about the White House is concerned with playing down concerns about the health of President Biden, who's apparently taken to freezing during public events. Italy's Prime Minister Giorgia Meloni was seen herding the president back into a photo with world leaders after he shuffled aimlessly away from the group. In the last few days, videos and images of the president freezing at a fundraising event went viral, but the White House stated that they were deceptively edited cheap fakes. With me now, again, is my panel, the historian and broadcaster Tessa Dunlop and the associate comment editor of The Telegraph, Mujaz Ahmed. Mujaz, I mean, you are a journalist. What about this idea that in some way the images could be fake?
They could be fake, and some of them will be fake. But the reason these AI images or AI videos or weirdly edited videos are a problem for the White House is that people have seen enough of Biden freezing in real life.
It's not going away, this one. It's perception versus reality, but as Mustafa said, it doesn't matter because it's now become Biden's reality, which is bushfighting these questions about his ability connected to his age. I don't understand where you go from here. He's got a vice president who isn't presidential material, who I think polls worse than he does, despite these, you would call them ageist. In many ways, it's about his competence, isn't it?
It can make a big difference when the president whose competence, mental competence, is under question, is running on the matter of competence itself. They're trying to paint Trump as being incompetent, as being not presidential, as being unable to lead, while they have a candidate who struggles to get off the stage. Yeah. That's the issue for them. And it's not really about age. He's not much older than Trump, as you say. It's about the appearance of age.
GB News, the People's Channel.
Congratulations to the GB News winners at this year's Trick Awards.
And the winner of Interview of the Year is... Alistair Stewart reveals his heartbreaking diagnosis to Camilla Tominey.
And the winner is GB News Breakfast. And the winner is Nigel Farage.
And thank you to you, our GB News viewers and listeners, for making us the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
This is GB News, and we are Britain's election channel.
This vote may seem to be about the politicians in the media, but it's actually about you.
And we won't ever forget that. Join us up and down the country as we follow every moment together.
Now more than ever, it's important to hear
all sides as you make your decision ahead of polling day.
We're here for you. This is GB News,
the People's Channel,
Britain's election channel.
Welcome back to Headliners. It's your first look at Thursday's newspapers. So, Leo, let's start with Thursday's Guardian. Labour has a plan to get more votes.
Yeah, so Labour are going to bring in automatic voter registration under plans to boost franchise. Not the Labour franchise, but the sort of election franchise. I don't know why they call it a franchise. You can't buy a burger at it. But currently, people in the UK need to register if they're going to be able to vote. So under automatic registration, they dive into other sources of data and, you know, peer through your bins and then automatically add you to the electoral roll and send you your voting card. I think this is... I think voters should be motivated enough to vote.
But to do it themselves, to register themselves.
To do it themselves. So it says here an estimated 7 to 8 million people are missing or incorrectly recorded on current voting registers. And a lot of them are young and a lot of them are poorer or live in privately rented homes. So this is obviously a demographic. Young people, poor people, they're going to vote Labour.
So is it that cynical that, you know, or is it just a sort of a really pro-democratic gesture? You know, we want as many people to be registered as possible.
Well, if Jacob Rees-Mogg came through and suggested a new measure where you had to have like a gold sovereign to be able to vote, you know what I mean? That, people would say, well, that's bad. You're
not a bad idea, though.
That's, yeah, I think. Well, in the old days, I think it was just landowners who could vote, and that's when Britain was great. So why don't we go back to that?
Yes, I would go back to minimum age 30 or over and owning property and male.
Wasn't William Pitt the younger than 30?
I don't know about history, Andy. I went to a comprehensive, but although I did get the third highest grade in the country history level, I don't know. I'm a product of the modern education system. I don't know who that is.
Tell me about this. I mean, like,
I can't.
Labour are Labour are desperately trying to get the youth
clearly.
vote,
Clearly.
and that's probably what this is about. But they're also going to lower the voting age, right?
Yeah, but I mean, yes, they obviously think people are going to vote for them. It's young men are increasingly right-wing, but on average, still, young women are definitely not, and on average, young men are still more woke than old men, so it's all relative. So this probably will benefit Labour. I think the whole Labour project is going to be about changing things so that the right or the populists or Conservatives can never take power again. And this will just be one of many measures. I think
it's a bad idea to try and predict that. They don't know what the next generation is going to be. There's some pretty right-wing embryos being gestated at the moment. You don't know
if you look
what
at
it's
it, I was talking to Eric Coughlin about it. He's crunched all the data, and still it doesn't look good. It looks like it just does move leftwards. So I think they probably are smart to do this. And
it's going to be like you say, it's going to be a split with gender.
Yes.
Because young girls are skewing more left wing, and the young boys are all going to the right.
Yeah, I think that could change though. I mean, in Europe, the young are quite pro right wing. In fact, the AFD, I think their biggest voting bloc is young people.
Right.
There's a lot of memes going around that convince young people to. I mean, right-wing people are just better at memeing.
Yeah, I'd like to think it's going that way, but apparently if you really look at the data, still, in terms of free speech and things, it's still trending very much against it.
Right.
In terms of how people answer questions like, should someone be able to have a different view on gender or these kind of things? And should they even be allowed to speak at a university? Lots of young people say, no, you shouldn't even be allowed to speak if you've got the wrong views.
We'll see, because, I mean, new generations often react against the previous one. So,
let's hope.
Maybe Labour should, be careful what you wish for, I think might be the phrase. OK, we're going to move on to The Independent now. And a bit of a spat with Rishi Sunak. What's this?
Yeah, Rishi Sunak brands David Tennant the problem in trans rights row with Kemi Badenoch. Now, it's a bit of a tricky headline because really Rishi just put out a tweet saying, freedom of speech is the most powerful feature of our democracy. If you're calling for women to shut up and wishing they didn't exist, you are the problem. So he was.
Give us the background.
I will. He was doing it reverse, like an interesting movie. He was pretty much calling him the problem. So David Tennant did this appalling speech, frankly, where he said that people like Kemi Badenoch, he wished they didn't exist. He said, until we wake up and Kemi Badenoch doesn't exist anymore, then he sort of corrected himself, said, I don't wish ill of her, I just wish her to shut up, which is an appalling thing to say.
I mean, he's sort of trying to be funny, wasn't he, to be fair?
Not really. Even amongst
got a big cheer in the room. All these lobbies were like, yes!
Didn't get a laugh.
Yes, kill kill Tories.
Even amongst actors, he stands out as particularly annoying, which is a heck of an achievement. So it was awful.
Yeah.
But my critique is also of Kemi's response, because she responded and said, she talked about Tennant being she said, I will not shut up, which is fair enough. I will not be silenced by men who prioritise applause from Stonewall over the safety of women and girls. But then she said, a rich, lefty, white male celebrity so blinded by ideology he can't see the optics of attacking the only black woman in government. And this is where she lost me, because then, of course, she engaged in identity politics. Some say she was just using the left's rhetoric against him.
Yeah.
I don't particularly believe that.
Well, it does. It's quite effective, because in that whole sort of intersectional identity politics world that David Tennant inhabits, it's a terrible look for a white man to say that a black woman shouldn't exist. I mean, it's one of the worst things. So by mentioning it, in a way, she is being kind of smart. It is using their weapons against them.
Yeah,
that's what she's doing.
I'd agree with that. And also, I'd say, David Tennant obviously has to cling to Kemi being wrong and gender ideology being correct. Because this was all about, this is at the LGBT Awards. He was getting an award for Celebrity Ally.
Celebrity Ally.
And basically, David Tennant has got a trans kid, apparently. So he needs gender ideology to be correct. As this religion disappears into the ocean on the back of the cast review, he desperately needs it. There's no way you can be 10 years in the future and be like, oh my God, we transitioned our kid.
I know. Well,
and this was a terrible mistake. It's got to be the right thing.
And also, it's been, particularly him coming from Doctor Who, which has been so infected with this stuff. I mean, there's that scene where he gets corrected for misgendering an alien.
Yes.
He gets corrected by his assistant, saying, how dare you assume this alien's pronouns? Yeah. And he asks the meep what pronouns the meep goes by, and the meep says, I go by the definite article, the, as in the meep.
It's so much worse than I could even have imagined.
Yeah.
When I actually see that clip, I'm like, it's like a weird public service broadcast for idiocy.
It feels like the Doctor Who team were in the writing room, and this high priest of intersectionality came and said, put a line of my scripture into your script. It's so shoehorned in. It's so bad.
Insane. And they just wanted to write about Daleks, and they're like, no, this one's about pronouns again.
Pronouns with aliens. But, you know, good on Rishi for sort of sticking up for Kemi, I guess. But what else were you going to do? Anyway, The Telegraph now, Leo, and Labour wants reform to do well all across the UK.
Yeah, so Labour will make every UK borough take its fair share of migrants, says Angela Rayner. I mean, I'd have thought the fair share of migrants would be none. But yeah, the party's deputy leader, Angela Rayner, said that successful asylum seekers would be eligible for places in the 1.5 million new social houses being built that Labour are planning to build right across the country. And they say that, you know, they're going to put asylum seekers in these buildings right across the country, spread them out across different councils.
We're talking about asylum seekers rather than economic migrants here, are we?
Well, I mean, basically, it's an open secret that the asylum system is now a route for economic migrants. I mean, unless they're leaving...
Because I would support asylum, people seeking asylum from danger.
I wouldn't.
Come into the country.
Like, why do you stay in the country and make it better? The whole asylum system is basically a sort of anti-civilizational migration system. It's like if you come from a country where, you know, the culture doesn't support a civilization, and instead people just, you know, form armies and kill each other all the time or whatever. So it's like Afghanistan, for example. So if you come from somewhere like that, see, people don't. The culture doesn't evaporate when they step foot in the UK.
Historically, I mean, historically, people seeking asylum have been grateful for the host nations that have taken them.
Yeah, but those have been genuine
and assimilated.
Those have been genuine asylum seekers, and I think people have been, you know, from much more culturally assimilable places in the past.
But we do have to, Nick, basically accept that a vast preponderance of those coming over at the moment in the small boats are, in fact, economic migrants. Is that not the case?
Yeah. I mean, it's such a Labour idea to equally distribute migrants, isn't it? I mean, it's the socialism of migrant distribution. I mean, I would just say stick them in London, because even though I live here, London's lost already, so let's just take the hit. Because when you put, like, dump a load of people in a small village or something, I don't think this is too outrageous to say. It just completely changes the community and it's just not workable. So I think the idea of equally distributing them is bizarre. I mean, she's talking about, you know, they're in hotels and that's costing the taxpayer, and they'll sort of process the backlog and all this kind of thing. But I'm sort of with Rishi on this, which I rarely say, that actually it's just going to get much worse under Labour. And that's why that was his strongest moment in the debate. Although even Starmer said that he's going to send people back to Bangladesh. You see that? He was saying send them back. It was
what a racist.
Yeah, it was
oh my God, that's disgusting. We need to have...
That is a bad choice of words. OK, we're going to finally end this section with the Telegraph. Net zero, what's this about?
Well, it's a crazy scheme, Andrew, to cut emissions. Is this from me? Labour's net zero target could cost hundreds of billions, leaked audio reveals. Now, this is a guy called Darren Jones, the Shadow Chief Secretary to the Treasury, who was caught in a different kind of a honey trap. He was caught on leaked audio talking about how much it would cost. And, you know, there was this 28 billion figure that got rolled back, and then there was this 4.7 billion. But he said even 28 billion was tiny. He said, oh, no, it's tiny. Hundreds of billions of pounds is what we need. So the accusation is that actually Labour, as I've already said in earlier stories, are actually going to do radical net zero things once they get in. Right. And they're going to cost hundreds of billions, and they're just not telling you because why would they tell you about their evil schemes?
And why do these audios always leak? Why do the WhatsApps always leak? I mean, what's the point?
I think if it's something as you know, jaw-dropping as this, you know, there's going to be somebody in that WhatsApp chat is going to be like, whoa, the citizens need to know before they condemn themselves to this horrific communist nihilistic Mad Max
you're not
universe.
A fan. He was talking to a journalist, wasn't he? Have you heard the recording? It's not a WhatsApp chat. He was talking to a journalist, and I guess they've just recorded it and...
A journalist recorded something that a politician said. It's probably the first time.
My feeling is you don't trust Labour's
profligacy.
Profligacy.
No, absolutely not. And we've seen a lot of this net zero stuff rolled back in Europe. It's weird that, you know, the European Union was set up in the first instance to really make sure we had enough food in Europe, so we didn't have to go back to rationing, didn't have to worry about importing food. And now, instead, we're shutting down farms to try and hit crazy targets.
Well,
Can I just boringly say, I'm not sure if it was a journalist, just so we don't all get sued, but it was a leaked audio.
It was definitely a leaked audio, because that's in the headline. So it's definitely a leaked audio.
And I've listened to it.
Right. OK, we are at the halfway point, but please do come back. We're going to be talking about angry Albanians, kissing consent, and flatulent bovines. You won't want to miss that.
Hello and welcome to the latest update from the Met Office for GB News. Following another hot day for many, it's warm overnight, but cooler air is on the way and windier weather. This unseasonably deep low pressure arriving for Thursday and Friday, that's going to bring some unseasonable strong winds to Western Scotland and Northern Ireland. Now, it's not been hot everywhere during Wednesday, but for much of central and southeastern England, it has been another very warm or hot one, and it's going to stay warm in these areas overnight despite the clear spells. 17 Celsius. Further west and north, we've got showery rain moving in, cloud and an increased breeze. So by dawn, much more unsettled across parts of Western Scotland, Northern Ireland, the winds picking up strength through the morning, bands of rain moving into the west coast. We've also got some heavy showers pushing through the Northern Isles, perhaps the odd rumble of thunder. Brighter skies for much of the rest of Scotland, feeling cooler here. And for much of northern and western England, Wales, cloudier conditions to begin things, although the rain on the weather front that is making the change tending to peter out, and really it's just a band of cloud and a few spots of rain as it pushes into the Midlands, and then by the afternoon East Anglia in the southeast. As that rain arrives and as the cloud thickens, the wind changes direction, temperatures aren't going to reach the highs that we saw in the last couple of days. We're looking at closer to 25, 26 Celsius in the east and southeast. But sunshine returns by the end of the day across much of England and Wales. Blustery showers in the west and the north. And as I say, unseasonably windy through Thursday, especially in the far north and northwest. And into Friday, we've still got some heavy showers moving through and some strong winds that could impact any outdoor events that are taking place. And so watch out for that. Into the weekend, mixed conditions, some cloud, a bit of rain here and there, but also some sunshine, temperatures back to average.
Weekdays on GB News. Wake up to breakfast every day from 6 a.m. Followed by Britain's newsroom at 9:30. At noon, it's Good Afternoon Britain. Followed by Martin Daubney from 3 p.m. Only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Every Saturday, 10 till 12, we'll bring you all of the news that you need to know. We'll also remind you that there is so much to smile about.
It's my favourite time of the week. I get to relax, enjoy some light-hearted stories, and let Ellie teach me about fashion too.
That's Saturday Morning Live, every Saturday, 10 till 12.
Only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
We're proud to be GB News, the People's Channel, and as you know, we always love to hear your views. Now, there's a new way of getting in touch with us at gbnews.com/yoursay. By commenting, you can be part of a live conversation and join our GB News community. You can even talk to me, Bev Turner, or any of the members of the GB News family.
Welcome back to Headliners. It's your first look at Thursday's newspapers. We're going to kick off this section with The Express. Albanian story, your favourite, Nick. What's this?
Oh, yeah, this is fury in Albania as locals slam Italy for new migrant detention centres in their country. So there's this deal between Rama and Maloney, and it's the Italian authorities have created these centres to accommodate 36,000 people annually. But the Albanians aren't thrilled about this, saying it will deter tourists. But a lot of them are scared to criticise Rama. That's the kind of power you want, isn't it? And but there's been a few protests. But Rama's saying, well, we have a special relationship with Italy, so we'll have to do it. So again, Italy are trying to find solutions like anyone for the migrant problem, because Maloney was seen as a bit of a traitor on the immigration thing because she hasn't dealt with it as strongly as people wanted. But now they're doing things like this.
What do you make of that, Leo? Because it is true that Maloney had all these big ideas about how to deal with this, and it was, that's one of the reasons that she was elected.
Yeah.
She hasn't really.
Yeah, I mean, maybe she's being stymied by a woke blob, a woke civil service that will just down tools and refuse to enact any
really?
serious...
Or do you think she was just saying the right things to get elected?
Because you got to be really mean. If you want to stop, illegal immigrants coming into Europe, you got to be mean. You got to say no. You got to, take them back. You got to pay a country to host them.
Yeah.
People also have a blob. It's just called like Blobberino or something.
El Blobo.
El Blobo.
Yeah. But
it's not quite like our civil service.
But the solution that all parties seem to have, like I remember Rishi saying, "Oh, we've got rid of so many illegal immigrants." And what they'd done was they just ticked a box in their form that said, "You're not illegal anymore. You can just stay." So this is the same sort of thing. They're going to have these processing centres, but then people will just get, they'll just have somebody sitting there with a desk and a rubber stamp, and then they'll become legal. So it's not really. I think the people of Europe are still going to continue getting disillusioned with this situation.
OK, well, we're going to stick with the Express. Leo, what's racist now?
Yeah, so Labour candidates have been blasted over social media posts which slam racist UK. So a Labour candidate who called the royal family and Winston Churchill racist in social media posts has been condemned by her own party. I mean, it's nice to see a party other than the Reform having its social media posts dug through to see if they said anything, that somebody could find objectionable.
What did they say, though? This candidate said that the royal family is racist.
Yeah, this is Charisma Griffiths. I mean, that's a great name. Charisma Griffiths claimed that Britain had only once in history been the good guys. So
what time do you think that was?
Well, I don't know, because, black people built Britain, and the initial British people were black. So she's being anti-black. She's a racist. She's an anti-black racist.
You have to pick between, does she mean World War II or ending slavery? Only one of those was good there. Yeah. But actually, if you're being really boring and fair, later on in the article, she actually said, talks about the war and said, because it's one of the only times Britain was on the right side of history, so maybe...
Well, wait a minute, she's also saying Winston Churchill was racist.
Yeah.
So presumably she thinks the Second World War was two bodies of fascists fighting each other.
Maybe. I mean, she talks about the things he did in Africa and so on. I find that quite moderate for Labour. I don't know why we're shocked. I mean, of course about 80% of them think Churchill was racist. That's moderate now. And now it's all about whether you think Israel should even exist. That's the frontier of the Labour Party now. This is day one. This is kindergarten in the Labour Party.
Yeah, because Labour have said this doesn't reflect the Labour Party. But yeah, as Nick says, it absolutely does. They're totally infused with critical race theory and these crazy revisionist ideas.
Yeah, you would have thought for a political party that's about to be elected, they might want to be saying to the electorate, "We like this country."
It's a tricky balance, because Starmer's always pictured with the Union Jack flag, but as soon as the cameras stop rolling, he lets the rest of the people just stamp on it and burn it in his party, and that's how he balances things out.
I thought that's what happened, and you've got footage.
Yes, I've leaked audio.
We might indeed show that next time. OK, the Times now. Nick, when's this guy coming on your podcast?
Oh, yes, very, very clever. Josh, who obviously wrote... this is Reform candidate Leslie Lilly said he would slaughter migrants. So it's locker room talk. it's
just banter.
That's just a joke, everyone. I'm using Trump's famous...
I mean, look, that is...
Locker room talk.
Absolutely appalling.
It's shocking stuff. Obviously, I'm just making jokes as a comedy show, but it's shocking stuff. He said some other things that are actually worse. He said border
he
force...
would take their families out.
Oh, yeah. He said...
No, this man is not... This isn't good.
No. He said border force vessels should have razor wire to tear small boats carrying migrants across the channel. Look... I wouldn't like to be in a position of defending this. What Farage would probably say, to be fair, is they don't have the infrastructure to vet people. There was a snap election, so no one's managed to vet everyone. The deadline's passed, so you can't actually really get rid of people. And so, and the Greens, all parties have the same problem. The Greens, some of them actually win elections and scream things.
Because I've heard you say in the past, Nick, that you don't like it when they just ditch candidates when activists complain. But this stuff is... You can't run for election with this kind of stuff. I mean, this is terrible.
This is pretty extreme, yeah. In general, they were far too ready to capitulate to activist groups.
Yeah, because you would agree that
those people act in bad faith.
Yeah.
This is a level where it probably goes beyond the pale.
Yeah, well, and that probably worries me. I mean, of course, surely, you would not expect to stand as a candidate if you said stuff like that.
No, I probably wouldn't. It's one of the reasons I don't stand as a candidate. But
they'll think through everything you've ever said. Take 2 minutes for Leo.
But yeah, they probably just got my most recent tweet.
Yeah, exactly.
But the thing is, I mean, you're getting these people like this are always attracted to parties such as Reform, because you always get sort of nutters attracted to either side. So Labour and the Green Party attracts, as Nick says, attracts all kinds of communists and Islamists and complete nut jobs. But for some reason, everybody glosses over that. I think this is some old guy who's fantasising about World War II and sitting at his laptop. I think we can, and maybe Reform would have better candidates if people hadn't smeared Reform right from the get-go. Maybe if people just let Reform, and accepted that actually the centre has shifted and Reform aren't.
Gloss over other parties, Green Party, or the anti-Semitism, for instance, in the Labour Party. That's had a lot of publicity.
The Guardian literally write things. But the Guardian are hugely influential and read by every civil servant. They literally put on the bedroom wall of every civil servant.
We know that the Guardian isn't a serious publication. It's an activist publication, which is, just a wing of the Labour Party, effectively. So, Nick, this is bad. This is bad.
This is very bad, yeah. These are shocking things to say. Of course, you can't be in a political party when you say things like this. Yeah, the only reason I suppose we're sort of giving the broader picture is what Leo says, that sort of they use this to target reform all the time, and it's a bit annoying.
It does,
but like say, all parties.
You've got to have a good vetting.
Yeah, you've got to have good vetting. But if we're being very realistic, do you think, to be very fair, to reform or any party with a snap election, when you don't have that much money behind you, is it possible to really vet everyone?
No, and that is a fair point. That maybe it couldn't have been done in advance.
And also, wouldn't it be funny to see this guy stand up in Parliament? I mean, just for the comedy value.
OK, well, anyway, look, we're going to move on now to this Mail story. Julian Assange. What's this?
So...
Oh, sorry. There was a joke there, which I didn't get in the auto cue.
That is a great story, though. Julian Assange free.
I know.
We don't have it tonight, but it's a great thing.
It is a great story, which I will be covering on Free Speech Nation this Sunday. Nice segue to a plug there. Nia, so what's going on here?
So, kissing someone without tacit consent can be considered sexual assault, Spain's Supreme Court has ruled. Just weeks before the former Football Federation chief, Luis Rubiales, will stand trial over his unsolicited kiss at the Women's World Cup. I don't know if you remember this, but he kissed in a moment of celebration. He kissed, I'm not sure what her name was, Hermoso, Jenny Hermoso. Yeah, was it captain of the women's football team?
I saw the footage. It was... he was happy.
Yeah, so they were both happy. Give her a peck on the give her a peck on the lips.
Yes,
but she later decided that it was she'd been sexually assaulted and is suing him, and he's now losing his home. So I'm sure all the feminists around the world will be delighted. For some reason, I don't know. This is always stuff like this, like a politician puts his hand on a woman's leg, and that's everybody's like, oh my God, me too. But then like grooming gangs, nobody says anything about that.
Yeah,
I don't understand.
I don't think it's right to kiss someone without their consent, and I think on reflection, surely he would have thought that was a mistake. He was obviously caught up in the euphoria of the moment, but to say that was an attempt at sexual assault, I think is ridiculous. And the idea that he should lose his home I think it's just not. It's not really that humane.
Well, it says you need tacit consent. But what does that even mean? I mean, think about it. How many times do you say to someone, "Can I kiss you?" The answer would usually be no, because that's just lame, isn't it? I mean, in most cases, that's not really how it works, So I think this stuff's all a bit ridiculous. I mean, look at this: a stolen kiss. They're saying that's kind of it constitutes sexual assault now, and the court said it's clear that the fleeting contact of a non-consensual kiss represents a bodily invasion. It doesn't have quite the same poetry as this is the world we're entering into. You shouldn't go around obviously randomly kissing people, but aren't we entering into a weird world of a sort of total state monitoring all aspects of human behaviour?
Yeah, and the precedent they're using is a police officer kissing somebody who's in handcuffs, which isn't the same. That is definitely sexual assault.
That's weird. Why have you handcuffed them?
That's what we've got time for in this section, but do come back because we're going to be talking about obesity, micro-cheating and suicidal robots. See you in a moment.
Patrick Christie's Tonight. Weekdays from 9 p.m.
The mystery surrounding the disappearance of flight MH370 has perplexed the planet now for 10 years. But now all of a sudden researchers at Cardiff University have piped up and said, oh, we heard a beep. Aerospace engineer, founder of MH370search.com is Richard Godfrey. Richard, are we going to find this thing?
The new research is much more thorough and gone in much more detail. It is picking up acoustic waves under the water. It's not conclusive, but it's a good step forward.
Is this a cover-up job of epic proportions? Do you think something quite sinister happened to this plane? Because it is all very odd.
I think you're right. It is all very odd. It is. We have a lot of data, but we don't have the final analysis, and we won't until we actually find the wreckage. The Indian Ocean is a huge place, 77 million square kilometers. When we find the plane, we can recover the flight data recorder, the cockpit voice recorder. We can learn a lot more.
Do you think someone might have shot it down?
No, the plane flew until it ran out of fuel. The plane was perfectly in working order. There was an active pilot right until the end. So my only theory at the moment is the captain of the plane actually committed a hijack of his own plane. But until we find it, we won't be able to prove that.
We are potentially a step closer now to knowing, and to one of the greatest mysteries of recent times anyway, finally being solved. There's aerospace engineer there, Richard Godfrey. Thank you.
Britain's election channel, the People's Channel.
I'm Christopher Hope. From pop stars to politicians, I'll interview anybody in a pub who's got a political opinion. Join me every Friday on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, YouTube or gbnews.com, or wherever you get your podcasts. GB News, Britain's election channel.
Join me, Nana Akwe, for an informative, interactive news programme with a difference. It's fun.
It's true. You're not wrong. No one will be cancelled. Lovely.
Join me from 3 p.m. every weekend, only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
If you want your news to be straight talking...
This is a nightmare for the Conservatives again.
Down to earth.
It's not just Nottingham where this is happening, is it?
And most importantly, honest.
Hard-working, middle-class taxpayers, they'll get the book thrown at them.
Then catch me, Martin Daubney, Monday to Friday, 3 till 6 p.m. on GB News, Britain's news channel.
Welcome back to Headliners, your first look at Thursday's newspapers. We're going to kick off this section with the Mail. And Leo, did you have a happy harassment day this year?
Yeah, funnily enough, I do have a harassment day. It's a weekly thing for me. But sending a birthday card to a colleague who wants it kept quiet could be considered harassment. A tribunal rules as an HMRC worker wins her employment case.
OK, you're going to have to talk us through this.
Yeah, so this conclusion came in the case of a tax worker who has successfully sued HMRC after bosses sent her a birthday card when she had said she didn't want a birthday card or didn't want anybody to recognise her birthday. This is Canny Tour, who suffers from a pituitary gland tumour, which is exacerbated by stress. So she's now in line for compensation after winning several claims of race and disability harassment and discrimination against the government department.
I mean, that sounds like a grift.
Oh, this is the public sector in a nutshell. Nobody does any work. They all just work out ways that they can waste everybody's time and harass. And also, it's horrible. The manager had a list of all the staff with their birthdays next to it and mentioned that you said happy birthday when it was their birthday, or sent them a card, or if it was a big birthday like a 60th or whatever, then assuming they hadn't already retired being public sector workers, then would make buy them a cake or whatever. So now that is all going to have to stop. So everybody has a bad time.
Yeah. Isn't wishing someone a happy birthday a nice thing to do?
He was clearly trying to be nice. And look, this person is a certain kind of person you get. I mean, she submitted a formal 11-page long grievance. I mean, even mine was only 10. That is a long grievance letter. I mean, and I do sympathise with her illness, but come on, unwanted conduct. Try working with Lewis Schaefer. I mean, I have unwanted conduct every day. Try working with comedians. These jobs are so soft. She was contacted. She didn't want to be contacted at home, which I understand it can be annoying, but she was contacted more than once every other day. That's not a lot of contact. No. You're at home. I understand that with the illness, that I do sympathise with that, as I say, but this is someone who clearly... She's like, oh, I'm not invited, I'm left out of training opportunities. Do you think it's because you're really annoying? I mean, I don't want to get sued by her. I don't want to get a grievance letter. But she's basically sounds like someone who struggles to get on with people, and that's me saying that. So...
OK, we're going to move on to this. Nick, micro-cheating, what's that? Is this one of these new phrases we have to learn?
It is. So flirting at work, how to know if you're micro-cheating. So Dr. David Pearl is going on about this, and it's this therapeutic culture that turns everything into... It kind of does two things at once. It kind of reduces real cheating and sort of downplays actual immorality.
What is micro-cheating, though?
Well, it's a great question. It's just doing... It's not even clear in the article. It's just doing little things like talking in a certain way to someone and getting on with them too well, and then you wouldn't tell your partner, and if you wouldn't tell them, therefore it must be cheating.
So it's flirting?
It's flirting, but...
But flirting isn't cheating, by definition.
We've lost track of real morality, where people can't just call things vices. So they're saying we shouldn't use terms like cheating because it's loaded, but at the same time we should invent terms like micro-cheating.
No, but this sounds a bit more like microaggressions and that kind of... It sounds like they're trying to suggest that if you have a flirty conversation with someone and you don't automatically tell your partner about it, it's a form of infidelity. That's really anti-human and weird.
It's nonsense.
But, well, in fairness, I think, this isn't happening now. It's DMs and emails and, messages via technology that's been enabled now, which you didn't have, 20 years ago or whatever. So examples of micro-cheating include excessive social media interaction with another person, or DMs or emails without your partner's partner's knowledge. And it sounds kind of like normal-sized cheating,
Does that mean, though, that lots of people are sort of micro-cheating with us at GB News? We have lots of people obsessively tweeting about us.
Is that micro-cheating? Because, I mean, there's loads of people who interact with me on Twitter. Are they cheating on their partners, or am I cheating on my partner because I'm replying?
No, but if it's a, you know, a private message and you're sending flirty messages and stuff, that's, you know, I wouldn't do that.
But at the same time, isn't it strange, though, Leo, that they're actually downplaying... I mean, for a start, he says all affairs start in childhood, which is a weird thing to say.
That is a weird
But he's talking about things like sex addiction, which isn't real. But he's sort of downplaying cheating and saying it's a loaded term. And it's a shaming word. It's supposed to be shaming. So he's kind of downplaying it. He's inventing new categories while at the same time suggesting it's not actually that bad. Why don't we go back to the old categories where we just had vices and sin and immorality?
Yeah.
So simple. We didn't have micro-cheating, we just had cheating.
What do you think, as a sort of, on your theological high horse, what do you think about flirting? What does the Bible say about flirting?
I don't know, but it's not. It says it's not great. That's in Matthew 6. But actually, no, to be fair, Matthew was an absolute stickler. He said you can't even look at another woman with lust, and that's considered adultery.
Really?
So Matthew was an absolute nothing. He was the first person to talk about micro-cheating in a way.
I don't know. There were some flirts in the Bible, if you look closely enough. Anyway, let's move on. Daily Mail next. Leo, what's this? About a robot apparently getting quite depressed.
Yeah, so paranoid android, a South Korean civil servant robot, commits suicide after mysteriously circling in one spot as if something was there, just like a real civil servant, to be honest. So this is Gumi City Council. It's announced that this robot is defunct after it fell down a 2-metre staircase around 4 p.m. last Thursday. And everybody's acting as if this robot committed suicide. It didn't. It just malfunctioned, went round in a circle for a bit and then fell down some stairs.
Why are they saying it committed suicide? That seems like a ridiculous...
They're trying to anthropomorphise these robots because robots are basically going to save the Western world. We've got rapidly ageing populations and nobody to do the work. So robots are going to do it. You're going to have your bum wiped by a robot.
But then what if AI develops to the point where, like in the prescient movie Short Circuit, the robot does gain consciousness and becomes like a human being? Could that robot not kill itself?
Yes, exactly. We're going to have the first AI suicide, because people have been worried about AI killing us or tricking us into suicide, but what if it suicides itself?
Yes. OK, we're going to quickly finish off with this one in the Mirror. Leo? What's this? No such thing as a free lunch.
I want it to be my one.
So, do you want to do your one?
No, that's all right.
OK, so a man weighing 36 stone has refused a free £5,000 surgery on a TV show as he wants to promote obesity. So this is this guy, Luis Delgado. So he's refused to sort of get any help on the show because he wants to promote obesity, which means, like all the other people who are 36 stone and promote obesity, he will die quite soon.
That seems a bit bleak. Nick, can you put a positive spin on that?
No, because I didn't understand it. He said I couldn't continue with big and fashion. I couldn't eat the same way or continue with my brand or promote obesity because they were doing the opposite. I didn't like that. So is he saying he wanted to promote obesity and to work with them would have to go against it?
Yeah.
And he just wants to... So he's obese and he's like, this is my thing. Yeah. And a lot of people get trapped in something that makes money, don't they? But it's not great when they're trapped in it.
Yeah.
Certainly isn't. There's a moral lesson for us all there. The show is nearly over. Let's take another quick look at Thursday's front pages. So The Times is leading with the debate between the next prospective leaders. Rishi Sunak rams home tax message in final debate. And the Daily Mail is running with, "You are taking people for fools." That's a direct quotation from Rishi Sunak's debate. The FT has a French far-right leader vows to fight a cultural battle against Islamism. And the Mirror has Holly kidnap Kit. The Eye is running with revealed Russian hackers behind NHS attack, a part of cyber army protected by the Kremlin. The Daily Star has someone fell asleep watching the football. That's all we've got time for. Thanks to my guests, Leo Kearse and Nick Dixon. We're back tomorrow at 11 o'clock with myself, Cressida and Jonathan Cogan. And by the way, if you're watching the repeat at 5 a.m, please do stick around, because right now it's time for breakfast.
That warm feeling inside from Boxed Boilers, sponsors of weather on GB News.
Hello and welcome to the latest update from the Met Office for GB News. Following another hot day for many, it's warm overnight, but cooler air is on the way and windier weather. This unseasonably deep low pressure arriving for Thursday and Friday, that's going to bring some unseasonable strong winds to Western Scotland and Northern Ireland. Now, it's not been hot everywhere during Wednesday, but for much of central and southeastern England, it has been another very warm or hot one, and it's going to stay warm in these areas overnight despite the clear spells. 17 Celsius. Further west and north, we've got showery rain moving in, cloud and an increased breeze. So by dawn, much more unsettled across parts of Western Scotland, Northern Ireland, the winds picking up strength through the morning, bands of rain moving into the west coast. We've also got some heavy showers pushing through the Northern Isles, perhaps the odd rumble of thunder. Brighter skies for much of the rest of Scotland, feeling cooler here. And for much of northern and western England, Wales, cloudier conditions to begin things, although the rain on the weather front that is making the change tending to peter out, and really it's just a band of cloud and a few spots of rain as it pushes into the Midlands, and then by the afternoon East Anglia in the southeast. As that rain arrives and as the cloud thickens, the wind changes direction, temperatures aren't going to reach the highs that we saw in the last couple of days. We're looking at closer to 25, 26 Celsius in the east and southeast. But sunshine returns by the end of the day across much of England and Wales. Blustery showers in the west and the north. And as I say, unseasonably windy through Thursday, especially in the far north and northwest, and into Friday we've still got some heavy showers moving through and some strong winds that could impact any outdoor events that are taking place, and so watch out for that. Into the weekend, mixed conditions, some cloud, a bit of rain here and there, but also some sunshine, temperatures back to average.
Looks like things are heating up. Boxed boilers, sponsors of weather on GB News.
It's the final week to see how you could win big this summer. First, there's a fabulous £15,000 in tax-free cash to ensure this summer is special. What would you spend that on? Next, you'll also receive the latest iPhone 15 and a set of Apple AirPods. And finally, £500 to spend at your favourite UK attraction. You have to hurry as lines close at 5 p.m. on Friday. For another chance to win the iPhone, treats and £15,000 cash, text prize to 63232. Text costs £2 plus one standard network rate message. You can also enter online at gbnews.com/win. Entries cost £2 or post your name and number to GB06 PO Box 8690 Derby DE1 9TT. UK only. Entrance must be 18 or over. Lines close at 5 p.m. on Friday. Please check the closing time if listening or watching on demand. Good luck.
Congratulations to the GB News winners at this year's Trick Awards.
And the winner of Interview of the Year is... Alistair Stewart reveals his heartbreaking diagnosis to Camilla Tormini.
And the winner is GB News Breakfast. And the winner is Nigel Farage.
And thank you to you, our GB News viewers and listeners, for making us the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
On election night, we are throwing a party.
The GB News Election Night Watch Party will be live from Essex and you are all invited.
On air from 10 o'clock, we'll have familiar faces from across the channel, entertainment and lots more stuff as we keep our eye on all the results as they come flying in.
If you want to join our live Election Night Watch Party audience, scan the QR code on screen or go to gbnews.com/election party.
Hi there, I'm Michelle Dewberry and I'm going to take a second to tell you all about my show, Dubes & Co. We start off with the issues of the day. We then bring in both sides of the argument. We get rid of the disrespect. And then you throw me into the mix. And trust me, I'll tell it exactly how it is. And then, of course, the magic ingredient, you at home. We mix it all together and what have we got, in my opinion, the best debate show in town. Monday to Friday, 6 till 7 on GB News, Britain's news channel.
Weekdays on GB News. Wake up to breakfast every day from 6 a.m. Followed by Britain's newsroom at 9:30. At noon, it's Good Afternoon Britain. Followed by Martin Daubney from 3 p.m. Only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
I'm Michael Portillo. This is GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.